Hello and welcome to another TorchCast. I'm Dwayne Lester, editor of the Missouri Torch. Today we're joined by Trey Kovacs of the Competitive Enterprise Institute. Trey focuses on the economic impacts of labor policy on the state level for CEI. Trey, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, what brings you to Missouri?
It's a little known subsidy to government unions called union release time, which allows public employees to conduct union business while still paid by the taxpayer.
So just to clarify, these are people who are working for the state or for maybe a school district or a city, but they're government employees, but the work that they're doing is specifically for the union, but it's being paid for by the taxpayer.
Yes, absolutely. They engage in all kinds of activities. They lobby elected officials. They engage in contract negotiations, grievance procedures, basically all things you would expect union dues to pay for. But in Missouri, the taxpayers pick up the tab.
How's this possible? What makes this possible? It seems like it would be something that would be illegal.
Well, one, it is legal under Missouri's constitution, constitutional provision called the gift clause, which only allows taxpayer dollars to support public purposes, which none of the activity under release time is. But these come about in collective bargaining agreements between government employers and government unions, and they stick in the union release time privileges. So while the taxpayer is paying union officials to negotiate their contracts, they put in provisions that keep on paying them.
So how much money are we talking about here? I mean, there are a lot of unions in Missouri. What's the exact amount that taxpayers are on the hook for each year?
Well, unfortunately, in Missouri, the lack of transparency makes it almost impossible to tell what the total number is, because many government employers refuse to comply and process my public records requests. Some charge prohibited fees. But from the numbers that we do find, it's at least tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's just from the information that I received back, which was probably less than half of the public employers I sent requests out to. And it was not comprehensive. There are still many government employers I didn't send requests to.
Now, you wrote a report that's published at CEI, and I embedded it in an article this morning that lays out the troubles you had regarding transparency. You talked about prohibitive fees, but first let's talk about the record keeping, or the lack of it, that's going on in the state.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, what I found is that many government employers didn't keep track of union release time. So that pretty much means that government employers and supervisors don't know where their employees are all the time or what they're doing. For instance, in the Grandview school district, they sent back, a nice letter saying that we can't help you, and we don't think anyone in the state of Missouri actually keeps track of this union subsidy. So it was a little disconcerting to see that generally these government employers in Missouri just have no idea. They put it in the contracts and let their employees just go out and do whatever union business they'd like.
And one of the things I noticed that I found especially troubling was there was actually a fire department that has it set aside that even if they need the fire truck or they need the vehicle, the union takes priority over everything else.
Yeah, I found that. That is awful. And especially when you're talking about public safety, to have a union subsidy take precedent over having a fire truck in service is unheard of. I've never seen that kind of provision before in union release time.
It's incredible. Now, you talked about the transparency, the fact that some of these folks aren't even keeping track of it. They don't have any idea, but other folks are keeping track of it. But tell us how they're keeping track of it, because it was incredible. First of all, how they're keeping track of it, and then how much they wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, so the most egregious lack of transparency and awful, inaccurate record keeping was probably the Missouri Department of Corrections. So, and this was over a month-long process trying to get the union release time records. At first, they told me, well, under our sunshine law, we don't have to disclose this material. Then I came back to them saying, well, that's funny because several other government employers in Missouri have handed over the data. So after, a couple of emails back and forth, they finally came back and said, okay, we'll allow you to see the release time records, but for a fee. Funny is, the fee was, I think, over $25,000, and they said it would take them over 1,000 hours to process the request, and that's because they were keeping track of release time on handwritten slips. And so, truly, clearly they're not looking at this or seeing what their employees are doing if they're doing it on handwritten slips.
So let me get this straight: 25 grand to get you this information because they say it's all on handwritten slips, and it take them 1,000 man hours to get this. And this is in 2015, where we have computers that can log all this, and you would think that they would have time cards where they could put codes in that they're going to use, union bidding. How is this even? Does this stink of a cover up, or is this just incompetence, or what does your gut say? You've seen this all over the country. What do you think?
I mean, I would lean more towards it being a cover up, because I've seen this in Ohio where they do it on handwritten slips, and it's just part of it so they don't have to release the data. The less people know about union release time, the more that it will occur and the less scrutiny. And they know if they allow this information to come out, it will face public scrutiny, because people will scratch their heads and say, why are we paying these public employees to not work for the public?
Right. Right. Now, there was another thing that just blew my mind, and that was at the Parkville, I think it was, Parkville School District. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so that's what Parkway was probably the most detailed release time information that we received. And there was a couple of kind of shocking elements to the data. One, for the past 3 years, the school district paid around $25,000 of the union president's salary annually. And the union president never does any work for the school. They're never in the classroom. And all it does is private union business. And then in addition to that, it may be possibly even worse than just paying the union president to not do any work, is that they paid teachers to go engage and blatant political activity. For instance, the Communication Workers of America that represents employees at Parkway spent 31 days participating in Lobby Day in Jefferson City, which is part of the comprehensive lobbying strategy of the union. And the specific activity they lobbied against were right-to-work laws and paycheck protection laws that would have weakened union clout and inappropriate privileges. So at this point, taxpayers are paying for the lobbying strategy of the union to lobby against laws that benefit the public.
And the public has no idea they're paying for this. This is this is what I found so important about this, because most people, you tell them this and they're stunned. I mean, when I heard that Parkway was paying almost, not quite a quarter, but close to a quarter of the union president's salary, and he does no work for the schools, I found that stunning, considering the amount of wailing and gnashing of teeth you hear in Missouri about the need to fully fund schools. And we're spending money giving them to unions, and we're giving them time off to go and lobby in favor of the unions. We are essentially, taxpayers are essentially subsidizing union labor.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why CEI and myself have gone through the efforts to send public records requests all over the country, is because at times when budgets, are tight and unions predictably in every state are calling for tax hikes and more spending, this is the easiest way if you want to get more money into the education system. Stop paying union president's salary and stop paying unions to lobby for more taxes, more union members, and more spending.
Now, you said earlier, you mentioned something about the gift clause. That's what was used in Arizona to make this unconstitutional. How can we use it here in Missouri?
Yeah, so basically it's a constitutional provision that's in 47 of the 50 states that really simply says public dollars have to go to public purposes, primarily. So it can, public dollars can incidentally benefit a private entity, but the main focus has to be for some kind of public purpose. So a lot of times the courts have, for economic development and things of that nature, like subsidizing corporations, they get around the gift clause because they say it creates jobs or something along those lines. But union release time, there is no economic development benefits for the public. It only benefits the private interests of unions. So it's something, union release time is ripe for a gift clause challenge.
Now, it was the Goldwater Institute in Arizona that sued them. Who would have, do you have any idea who'd have standing here in Missouri? I mean, could I sue, say, a school district and take it to court?
Yeah, and whatever school district that you're in, any taxpayer can file a lawsuit.
Excellent. All right. Well, this is just a stunning revelation, and I've already had, like I said, some feedback from some folks in Jeff City on the article I posted on the Missouri Torch today. I want to thank you for, one, just writing this report that you can find embedded at the article at the Missouri Torch, but two, bringing this to everyone's attention, because this is an egregious use of taxpayer money to benefit the unions. So thank you, Trey, for doing that.
Thanks for having me.
This has been the TorchCast. I'm Dwayne Lester, editor of the Missouri Torch. We appreciate you taking time to watch. And until next time, take care and God bless. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more of them in the future, please consider making a donation to the Missouri Torch here. And please subscribe to our new YouTube channel and visit us at themissouritorch.com.